Well, thank you so much for inviting me today. I'm really pleased. I'm an avid science communicator, so to be able to talk at this session has been brilliant. So I'm a geoscientist. I work for the International Ocean Drilling Programme Science Office, which is based here in Plymouth in the UK. And as I said, I do science communication, I do outreach, so it's been wonderful to be able to be part of this role within the Science Office. So I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about IODP Cubed and how the program works for those of you who aren't aware of the new program and how it links into the previous IODP programs. I'll talk a little bit about why science communication is important in scientific ocean drilling, and then a bit about the science communication that's been done over the last year since the program started on our recent expeditions. So first of all, welcome to the Science Office. So we're headed up by our co-directors, Anthony Morris, who's based here in Plymouth, and Nobu Oguchi, who is based in Japan. And I'm supported by my two colleagues, Kiara, who looks after our proposals and meetings, and Miriam, who looks after our publications. And you'll see how they link into some of the science communications as well as we go. So the Science Office itself fulfills a number of roles, but we're essentially the conduit between the scientific community and the implementation of expeditions and operations that happen via our panels and boards and our operators. So we have proposals and applications that come in from the community, which come to us. We then send them out to our program member offices, to our panels and boards, and we support them in their meetings and helping get those expeditions off the ground. Following the expeditions, we then look after the publications and the proceedings of the International Drilling Programme. And of course, we then communicate the outcomes of that, but also the opportunities, events that are coming up as well. And that's obviously where I come in and what I'm going to talk about a little bit more. So we are 17 member nations from ECORD, which is mainly European countries and Canada, ANZIC, which is Australia and New Zealand, and Japan. So we're made up of these 17 member nations. But we also do have a lot of close collaboration with previous scientific ocean drilling programs. So our first IODP Cubed expedition that ran last year was co-badged with NSF in the States. And there's also opportunities for other nations who aren't directly linked or directly members of IODP Cubed to be involved in our Spark expeditions, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. And there's a list of the countries here. So we are as inclusive as we can be to try and get people involved in the expeditions that we have going forwards. We have a science framework, so you'll see that illustrated here, and this provides the strategic objectives and our flagship initiatives, which we want to see proposals that come into IODP Cube to align with. So to quote the framework documentation, they're broad-ranging and aim to increase understanding of the fundamental connections of our Earth systems while addressing a range of natural and human-caused environmental challenges that we face in society today. And of course, we want to communicate how this fits into members of the public and other scientific communities through our communication routes. I'm just going to put this up very briefly, as I'm sure you're all well aware of the amazing legacy of scientific ocean drilling since the 1950s. But with the end of the last IODP program in 2024, we move into IODP Cubed, which is what we're part of. And we obviously want to continue that legacy, working internationally to work towards those science framework objectives that I talked about earlier. So how does IODP Cubed expeditions work? So we still have offshore expeditions. We've already had 4 that took place last year, and we've got another 4 that will be starting this year. But there are a few changes. So all of our expeditions use mission-specific platforms. So that could be a lift boat, a icebreaker, a research ship, depending on what the objectives are of the proposal or of the expedition that's taking place. They are typically smaller offshore science teams than we might have seen in previous programs, but not everyone is expected to be working offshore. So you can apply to be working onshore as well. So as I said, no requirement to sail. And the expeditions are varying lengths. So some could be as short as a couple of weeks, some might be a few months long. And we really hope that this will make the expeditions as accessible as possible to people who may have felt they weren't able to take part previously. We also have our land to sea proposals, which essentially is a collaboration with ICDP. So these support projects where there needs to be onshore and offshore sites that are drilled to reach the scientific objectives, or at shallow marine sites. And finally, I've mentioned these a few times. We have our Spark expeditions, which are scientific projects that use our ocean drilling archives. So as I'm sure you're all aware, there's an amazing legacy of core material that has been drilled over the many decades, which is stored within the core repositories in Japan, the States, and in Germany. And essentially, our Spark projects are large international expeditions which address big, globally significant processes that use these archive materials. We're looking at innovative approaches to analysing these legacy materials. So since a lot of these cores were collected, we've got major kind of changes in instrumentation that we can use to measure some of the cores in the micro scale that we can assess them, in the high resolutionness that we can look at them as well. So there's been a lot of changes that means that we can relook at a lot of this core material and analyse it in different ways. They are equivalent to our offshore expeditions in terms of prestige, publications, and also the size of science teams. So our Sparks teams could be 30, 40, 50 plus people working in the core repositories or within their own labs on the expedition objectives. And they're open, as I said earlier, to all nations involved in scientific ocean drilling, past and present. So it's a really great way to get our international community working together. So with all this amazing science, why is the outreach and science communication important? And I'm sure you're all aware of most of these things, but for us in IODP Cube, we want to raise awareness of our activities. We want to promote and support the science, but also the scientists. These people are amazing that are carrying out the work, and we want to promote them and show the amazing work that they're doing. We want to inspire participation across all of our different expeditions, and in turn, the diversity of people that are taking part as well, by hopefully being as accessible as possible. We want to produce outreach resources and events. So these come through. I'll talk about some of the things that our science communicators have been doing, but these are resources that can be used in schools, universities, museums, at events, and well, all sorts of things. We also want to be able to engage the public in what we're doing and help them to understand why scientific ocean drilling is so important. And of course, inspire the next generation of geoscientists. So I wanted to look back slightly at outreach that happened in the previous IODP programs. And I've put a few pictures here, which I've pinched from the Jodie's Resolution website, which you can still look at. It's a really fantastic resource to see what was done in the previous programs. And as you can see, there's lots of people, science communicating, taking part in expeditions and producing some fantastic work. I've highlighted a couple of things that have come out quite recently from Expedition 405, which was the last IODP expedition. So Dan Brinkhouse and Beatriz Martinez Ruiz have produced a film, The Story of Stress, which is available on YouTube and across our social media platforms. You can find it, which is really fantastic. Beatriz herself is actually a science historian, and she's done some amazing work with, I put her link here actually, I should click that on, Tales of the Ocean, where she's interviewed over 100 people who have been involved in scientific ocean drilling over the last few decades. It's an amazing resource, so do take a look if you get the chance and you want to learn a bit more about life at sea and the work that people have done over the last kind of 50 years. But what I really love about these websites and the outreach resources that you can find on them is the variety of people who are doing what they do. So you've got videographers, educators, filmmakers, artists. Nurse Sherba here produced a comic from the work they were doing on the Chiku, which is really amazing and appeals to a huge range of age groups, which is fantastic. And that's what we want to continue into IODP Cubed. So we've had, as I said, 4 expeditions so far. Expedition 501 off the coast of New England in the US, and we've had 3 expeditions off the coast of Japan. Each of these expeditions had 3 science communicators on board. I should kind of click this on. I've included science communication here. In the past, the people who took part in the expeditions were known as outreach officers, but we've changed that to science communicators just to encompass a bit more the range of everything that these people are doing and the fantastic work that they do. We have an open call for science communicators for we hope to have one for every offshore expedition. So it really is open for anyone who wants to get involved in taking their science communication to sea. And science communicators can also apply to be part of our Spark science teams as well. So it's not an open call like we see for the offshore ones, but you can apply to be part of the science team with an expertise in science communication if that's something that the co-chiefs are wanting for their expedition. Now I'm going to have to give a massive thank you here to a couple of my colleagues who have worked on the next few slides. I'm going to focus on 501 and the outreach that the team did there. So Ulrika Prang, who is the ESO, the Equal Science Operator Outreach Manager, she headed up the outreach for this expedition, but also Nicole Beneventi, who is the Equal Communication Officer. And she passed the next few slides on to me from the recent onshore operations from this expedition. So a huge amount of work was done, not just during the expedition, but also preceding it as well. So expedition websites were set up, a logo was made, flyers that could be given out, facts, and obviously a lot of social media activity and a press release prior to the expedition starting. But they also did a lot of community engagement. So they visited schools, they took on activities such as the pictures here show a science stroll in Woods Hole. To inform the community about the project, the expedition was taking place quite close to the shore. And so we want people to understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, why it's important. And obviously, if they hear drilling, they need them to know that it's not maybe drilling as they think about it and very different in its outputs and what we're going to be discovering. They did radio and TV broadcasts and really, really put a lot of time and effort into engaging the community prior to the expedition taking place. During the expedition, they had a blog. This expedition blog was really great at raising that visibility of our program. So IDP Cubed, ECORD and the NSF, who were funding the expedition, along with our other program members, and of course the scientists, most importantly, and the work that they were doing. It gives a really good way of showing people what's happening almost in real time, what's happening on the expeditions, what exciting stuff's being found and done. And the blog site had almost 15,000 visits in 2025, which is really, really fantastic. There were three outreach officers on board from the US and from Europe. These were mainly journalists, and they had a fantastic amount of media articles that have come out of the expedition. So there's more than 200 media articles so far internationally have come out of this expedition, which is really fantastic. This work is all ongoing, so there's going to be more outreach outputs coming, which is great. So I just want to briefly touch on the Chiku expeditions that happened. We had three, Expedition 502, 502E, and 503. I'm not going to go into the science of these today, but please do have a look at our website. You'll be able to find lots of information about them there. We had an open call for science communicators and had a really amazing response. We were able to get 3 science communicators on each of these expeditions, all of them with very different kind of science communication plans, which is something we ask for when people apply. And I'm really excited to see what comes out of some of the work that they've been doing on ship and afterwards. So this is just a kind of brief overview of some of the people. It's by no means endless, and I haven't been able to fit everybody on here, unfortunately. But I just wanted to highlight a few things. So Nan Chin Chu was a science communicator on 503, and she actually helped organise an event at the French Embassy in Japan after the expedition with the co-chiefs, some of the early career researchers, which is really fantastic. We had Sebastian, for example, who's a fantastic science communicator. His social media posts throughout the expedition were really fantastic, and he's planning a workshop and a storybook following his work. Dorian Le Tessier here is a photographer and videographer. Hopefully this will work if I click on here. You can just see this while I'm talking. But she's produced some really fantastic photography and videos from the expeditions, which really immerse you in what things were like. We had live broadcasts, blog posts, really huge amount of stuff, which has been really fantastic. Now I'm hoping this is going to work because I accidentally recorded a small video of the website with music on in the background, but I think I've turned it down. So how do we fit in? So I'm not out there doing the science communications much as I would love to be on ship helping out with this. Mainly our scientific communications come up from our website, which I've put the link there. And if I click on, hopefully you can just scroll down through our homepage. We've got a lot of information here, but this is where you'll find all our announcements, all of our news from the community, any upcoming meetings and events. So it's a really good kind of one port call to find out what's going on. Along the top of the homepage, you'll see that we also have proposals, expeditions, publications. So you click on there and you can find out about what proposals we've got coming in, what could be implemented, but also what expeditions are coming up as well. It's just to kind of highlight those announcements. So any calls, any opportunities to get involved as a science communicator or a scientist, part of our panels and boards will always be here with all of our contact details. And you can also click on our Explore button, which brings up another menu where we've got resources. So in due course, we will have outreach resources on here as well. So more science communication things happening there. And we also have, I just wanted to highlight our organisation. So if you click onto that bit, you'll see all our panels and boards, and we also have a communication task force, which is made up of outreach leads from ECORD and from JAMSTech, but also representatives from our programme member offices, from ICDP. And going forwards, we are going to be reviewing all of our communication strategies so we can maximise our reach and potential out to the community. So it's really great to have that group to work with. Finally, I just wanted to touch on social media. So, as the Science Office, we don't really do social media, mainly because our program member offices are amazing. So, I've put their links here. So, we've got eCore, Jamstech, Mary 3, and ANZIC, and they are on everything from Facebook to Instagram to LinkedIn. And they do an absolutely wonderful job of promoting all of the things that we are doing within IODP Cubed. We do have a LinkedIn page, mainly so I can repost all the great stuff that they're putting up, but also so that we can be tagged into the work that our IODP Cube scientists are doing with on their expeditions, which is great. I also just wanted to flag up the SODCO website as well. So our US colleagues have got a new website, which is well worth a look. We're working with them really closely and collaborating with them on opportunities. So you can find some of our opportunities on the website and vice versa. So I think I've kind of whistle-stop toured you, hopefully, through a lot of the science communication that we're doing, the routes into it. If you've got any questions, obviously, please do ask. So it just leaves me to thank the fantastic science communicators whose work I've kind of showcased a little bit of today. My colleagues at eCord, ESO, Jamstech, Mary 3 and ANZIC, and of course my colleagues in the Science Office. And you all for listening today. Thank you very much.